blah, 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 blah.
Welcome to the Our Forever Smiles podcast, a podcast created to support mothers of children who were born with clefts and those who love them. I'm your host, Laura Arroyo, and I'm also a mother of a daughter who was born with a surprise cleft palate. I know the challenges you face every day, whether you have just learned the difficult news of your baby's cleft lip or palate, you're in the midst of pre-op or post-op, or you're an OG cleft mom. This podcast is for you. In a weekly conversation, we will talk about everything from feeding and speech therapy to surgery and school. We'll share tips from guest experts and advocates and even share a little joy in the process. You can listen to Our Forever Smiles wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned. Hello, and welcome back to the Our Forever Smiles Cleft Mom Diaries and Support podcast. I am Laura Arroyo. Before we jump into this episode, I would like to invite you to join this community to hear conversations with other cleft moms and advocates that will help you feel supported along your journey. All I want you to do is click on the follow or subscribe button. I love your support, and it's incredible to see us all come together. And we're just getting started. As a note, we are not medical doctors, and we do not intend for you to use the information that we share here as medical advice. We are parents and advocates who love our children, and we are sharing our own personal experiences. So excited to have our next guest on the podcast today because she is a return guest. Yay! People love me, right? Summer is the first-time mommy to a beautiful baby boy, and she's been married to her best friend for an amazing 4 years, or did you all have an anniversary? Is it still 4 years?
It's still 4 years. I lose track. It's going on 5.
On 4, going on 5 years, and she's just here trying to be the biggest advocate and to educate everyone around her. I wanted to bring Summer back on. Of course, we had an amazing conversation about her son, but since then he has had lip repair, and so we thought it would be a great idea to do an episode on everything you need to know about cleft lip repair. Welcome, Summer.
Thanks for having me back.
So how many has it been months already since repair, or
It's been 2 months, but it feels a lot longer. It's been 2
Yeah.
months. November 5th was his surgery date.
Oh,
So it's been
nice.
about 2 months. Yeah.
How are you feeling since then?
Since recovery, better. Yeah, a lot better. He's finally, it's just so weird to see, I guess, what life should have been without a cleft in a way. No tapings, no devices. Obviously, we still have his palate and food comes out of his nose. But other than that, it's really nice not having to worry about all the devices and tapes. And I don't have a counter full of medical, literally a spot dedicated to medical on his nursery. So it's been very nice.
Yeah. I think you made me think of something too now. So I always said, oh, I just, want to have one child. That was like a plan in getting pregnant with Giselle. But I don't know. Sometimes I feel like because my experience was not the same as the average, mom, and I wish I could do it all over again. But we've closed shop over here, so it's not possible. You made me think, you're still in it? I have that feeling because Giselle is 2, but are y'all planning on having any more? I can't remember if I asked.
I know we would more, but now it's so hard because things are pretty good. Again, well, we have surgery coming up again, so after that, then we'll deliberate on when we're having number 2. And then I worry too about him having a cleft again too. I don't know, a lot of emotions, and I Or take some time
Yeah.
for sure.
But you all had genetic testing, right? So it was isolated, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah, it
right?
was isolated.
Yeah. I was talking to another guest actually before this, and I think they were saying it's a 4% chance to pass it down when it's isolated. But of
Oh,
course,
so
we've seen some if you're a part of any Facebook group, we can you've seen it all. So
yeah, we've seen it all. It's definitely a possibility.
oh, yeah. Okay, so in talking about your beautiful baby boy and just preparing for repair, what did you do you remember what you all did the day before? Was he the first patient?
He was thankfully the first patient. So we went in around 7 a.m. The day before, we pretty much just snuggled on the couch all day and obviously made sure, well, I was packed days before. My husband packed the day prior, of course. But pretty much just packing and snuggling with the baby. It's really all we did the day before. I know when it came to the packing list, I obviously asked the support group, and I just want to put this out in the world. Somebody did recommend bring a bottle warmer, but they have a bottle warmer there. So they said, oh, it takes longer at the hospital. I'm assuming, okay, only an extra 5 minutes. No, this bottle warmer takes a good 30 minutes plus to warm up people. Okay, so if you don't want to wait 30 minutes to warm up a bottle for your baby, bring your bottle warmer. That was one of the biggest
Wow.
issues we've had in the
Oh,
hospital. That was
wow.
not fun.
Okay, so he must be Giselle, where Giselle this is so weird. People think that she's so weird for this, but she still drinks warm milk. She's not on formula anymore, but she will not drink cold milk from the fridge and cow's milk. And she will literally now, I mean, she's practically a teenager. She will say, she'll say, I want hot milk. And I'm like, that is gross, but okay, fine.
He'll probably be the same way because he's so picky. As soon as the bottle literally changes, halfway through, if it starts to get on the colder side, he pushes it out. I have to go warm it back up, and then he'll eat the
What?
rest. He's so
Yeah.
picky.
That's so
So
wild.
picky.
Okay. But yeah, no, that's a great tip. In terms of him being the first patient in the morning, did you have to wait to feed him? What was that in having to what was it, to fast and stuff? Did he do okay
But,
with it?
he did okay with it. So obviously, I couldn't eat. Now he has a later bedtime, so I feel like that's what really saved us because he normally gets up around 8, 9. So us having to get up at 6, he's not used to eating for another 3 hours. So he
Mhm.
thankfully did obviously, he was pretty PO'd when we woke him up. But once we got to the hospital, he was pretty content. So thankfully, we didn't have to worry about too fussy of a baby before surgery.
Yeah. And I think one of the hardest moments or the things that a lot of moms think about is that moment where you have to hand your baby over. Do you feel like you were really emotional about it or
And
how was that?
honest, it I feel it took a good hour to really hit me. Once we handed him off, I was kind of sad, but I don't think it really. I was just kind of shocked about this whole process. So obviously, we've known for a whole year that this was going to be happening, but it's kind of hard to wrap your head around a baby having surgery, especially such major surgery for such a long period of time. I'd say halfway through waiting for him to come out, I was getting nervous and I was crying and trying to stay positive.
Yeah. I understand that too, that feeling because it's mixed emotions because you want that, you've waited for this moment, right? Like, you're waiting for this thing to happen. And then it's happening, but there's always these risks and these things in the back of your mind that could go wrong. And then, of course you've spent so much time with this baby to appointments and stuff. And so a lot of times maybe they haven't been alone, by themselves or, with someone else. It's just this weird thing that you have to lead up to, this weird feeling that you have. You're grateful that they're going through surgery. You're grateful that they're going to have their repair and it's only going to improve their quality of life. And then, but the flip side of that is that the actual surgery, right?
Yeah.
It's really difficult to go through. How long is lip repair? I can't remember. Is it 2 hours?
Anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. His took about 3.5.
Oh, wow. Oh, gotcha. And so did you get those text message updates or whatever?
That was so nice. That was so nice, especially when I was like, I haven't gotten an update in a while. I'm like, "What the hell is happening?"
Yeah. No, that's when things are not going well, that is how people have shared with me, "Oh, something's not right. I haven't, gotten an update in a while," or they're just being funny with the updates and stuff. So I've seen that happen, as well. So it is nice to be able to get those updates. And so seeing him when he comes out of surgery, what
That was that was nuts. Complete Completely different baby. It I was still in shock about everything. I don't see to me, just like, giving birth, I just imagine me bawling my eyes out. I was again in shock. My husband, on the other hand, was bawling his eyes out. He's like, "Why aren't you crying?" I'm like, "I don't know." I'm like, I don't know if it's motherly instincts of just trying to stay strong and just in the moment. I It was insane seeing him. He was totally different baby, and, of course, it was just seeing him with, all the bandage and he's just sleeping, a little precious little baby. It was adorable, but yet sad all at the same time when we first saw him.
Yeah. So he was asleep when you got to him?
Yeah, he was pretty much asleep. I feel like he did not every time he started to wake up, he cried in pain, and then he'd
Mhm.
slowly start to go back to sleep, so I think he was just not wanting to wake up and face it.
Yeah.
At least I know that's how I've been during surgery. Um, but yeah, once he did wake, it was probably the middle of the night is when he started actually really waking up. He was pretty much asleep the whole day, and that's when the hell of recovery started.
Yeah. It's so funny when I see it's not funny, but whenever I think of Giselle when she was up whenever I anytime when she had her palate repair, when she had her tubes in, you come into the recovery area, she's like, sitting up and she looks so
Really?
pissed, like
Like,
so
"Mom, what
she
the hell did you just do to me?"
she's so mad. So, yeah. No, I feel like so many people have had that experience of not recognizing, their baby whenever and I think we talked about that a little bit during our first episode recording, right? That you kind of expected
Yeah,
that.
we did a little. Mhm.
Yeah. Did the doctors mention that to you, or were you just going by what people have shared online?
Just what people have shared online, and
Yeah.
just figuring you fall in love with that face with the tape on it for, what, 4 months, and then all of a sudden it's off. And it does change their face so much. I didn't think his face would change too much because obviously I've seen it without the tape, but his eye shape
Mhm.
changed, his little cheekies,
What?
everything. Yeah, his eye shape, I was, "Oh, wow." He literally is my twin, but before I was, "I
Oh.
think he looks me," and then after surgery, I'm like, "Yeah,
Oh,
it's
he
me."
really looks you now. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. So, yeah, no, okay. And so bringing him home that night, you're saying that he eventually woke up and then here you're not sleeping anymore again, right?
Well, we unfortunately had to stay 2 nights in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
He
Why?
wasn't doing too good. He refused to eat, and he was just especially this one night, especially the second night, the reason why we stayed an extra night. Well, obviously, he refused to eat, like I said, and then he was just in so much pain. I've never seen I It was literally the saddest thing I've ever seen is see a baby cry out in pain. I guess, obviously, you or I'm sure a lot of other mothers have experienced that in some ways, especially with the surgery, but it was not a great experience. So it took a while for him to get to eat. We finally got a bottle in a few hours before we were about to get charged out. The hospital, like, well, obviously he needs to eat and have wet diapers to be able to leave. And by the second day, they're like, well, yeah, you're going to get charged out of here by the end. And I'm like, well, he hasn't eaten yet. They're like, oh, well, he'll be fine. I'm like, okay, well, you guys really want us out of here, which is a whole story in itself. But he thankfully did eat a whole bottle a few hours prior to leaving. But once we came back home later that night, he's again refused to eat. He wouldn't eat for a whole 24 hours. And we almost had to go back to the emergency room because he wouldn't take anything. I had to get syringes and force feed it in his mouth for those first 24 hours. So the first 3 days were a definite nightmare, I would say. Once we finally, my husband, he got him, he's going to hear this. He was the one that got him to eat
Oh, he's
a
really proud of
bottle.
it.
Yeah, he's so proud of it. And he did a good job. He literally, he had to not shake him, but like really vigorously bounce him to get him to eat because I think his stomach was very upset by all the medication too and just
Mm.
not eating for, the 3 days.
Mhm.
So that really did help. And then he finally started eating again, slowly back to normal. And then yeah, after that, you know how recovery is, no sleep. He would not touch his crib at all. Like my husband had to rock him in the recliner. We did shifts, thank God. He took the first 6 hours and basically I had to hold him in a recliner for the 6 hours to sleep. And then I took over from there. And that took, I feel, a good 2 to 3 weeks of that. It was awful. It was awful. I don't think it's ever going to get back to normal.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was a really good, yeah, he was a good sleeper. It was a terrible napper, but he was a good sleeper. So seeing him not even touch his bed, that was a nightmare. Yeah.
yeah. So whenever we did pallet repair, I wish I had one, and maybe I do have one somewhere, but they had, so we were told we were gonna syringe feed, we should syringe feed if we couldn't get free flow, which I think free flow, people recommend free flow for a pallet repair, but I actually think the syringe is so much better. But they had these really, really skinny syringe, the ones you screw on to the end of the syringe. Have you seen those?
No.
So this is I'll read it so that people can access it, but it's a Neomed sampling straw with NFIT connector. And it can screw onto an NFIT enteral syringe. And it basically so anyway, I wasn't told that. I thought I was just going to use the syringe, right? Which I thought was fine too, right? You just put it in the corner. But this was a game
Yeah,
changer because when she wouldn't open her mouth, I could squeeze it onto the side. And this was the only way that I got her to drink anything.
that
And
is genius.
I put yogurt in it and everything. Yeah, and it's too rough in the very, very beginning. You have to let them get through the first 24 hours. And then I noticed that was yeah, that the first 24 hours, and then afterward, once she got used to actually eating again or like drinking, she actually wasn't drinking any milk in the beginning. Or any formula. We were feeding her yogurt and pudding and stuff like that. So yeah.
Oh,
So anyway, that's palate repair. I feel, were you pumping during this time or did you ever pump?
yeah. I was going back and forth whether to stop before he had surgery, but I was, oh, I asked the support group, which I'm thankful, half of them were, oh, you can get through it. And the other half, I recommend stopping. I wish I listened to that half. I kept going and I wish I stopped then because it was just a nightmare having to pump in the hospital and you have these giant things hooked to your boobs. And then especially once we got home because he wouldn't sleep in his crib. So he just had to cry. I tried to soothe him for, the 20 minutes I had to pump once a night. But I just felt a terrible mother not being able to hold him and I had to freaking pump. It was a nightmare. That's when I am done. Pumping
Yeah.
in general exclusively is a nightmare. And then that was just the cherry on top. I was, oh my God, I can't do this for the second one. No way. Just no
Yeah.
way.
It's so funny, like, I feel my body has a physical response to that because I just remember, oh god, in the beginning when we just couldn't get the right bottle for Giselle, and so she was just crying a lot while I was pumping, and
Mm.
not I was, like, pumping, she was crying, I was starving, it was just, like, all the things.
Terrible cycle.
It's terrible. Hadn't showered in 2 days, it's all this stuff. Oh
God, I don't.
god.
Yeah, especially in the beginning, exclusively pumping was the absolute worst. Because normally, oh, you just put them right on your breast, but no, you have to take an extra hour out of that schedule just to pump and then feed and then hopefully not deal with a crying infant while you're pumping.
So you said you saw a turnaround within 2 to 3 weeks?
Yeah, I would say 2 to 3 weeks, it finally got back to normal. I feel like a nap started getting back to normal around 2 weeks and then his sleep around three. I was not comfortable letting him cry it out in any form too,
Mhm.
because he's been through enough. So after the 3-week mark, I kind of let him fuss it out a little bit in his crib for 10 minutes and then I would go in. But yeah, we thankfully saw a turnaround.
Yeah. Yeah, I always tell people because I think people are shocked by that. So that's the one thing that I always share too. After surgery, you can expect them to have a major sleep regression, especially if they're not eating that well. They're probably scared. They're probably uncomfortable. They have a lot of pain and stuff and so I remember Giselle didn't fully get fully where she was back on probably about 4 to 6 weeks.
4 to 6. Okay.
Yeah, she was healed she was herself by 2 weeks,
Yeah.
but in terms of the way that her naps being her full naps or at that time, it was 2 naps a day and then her full sleep at night. Yeah, and it was definitely 4 to 6 weeks, for sure. And that's really what I tell people is the hardest part for palate repair in particular, but was just the fact that they don't wanna be put down, and they wanna sleep
I'm
with
not.
you, on top of you, and yeah. The
Can't believe I have to do it again in one more month.
Well, the good news though for you is
Oh,
that people have told me that lip repair is easier than palate repair. I guess once they've
yeah,
gone through it.
that's scary. It's so scary. I can't picture it any worse. I can't. I don't mean to laugh,
Well, no, that's what I mean,
Megan.
lip repair. Once you've gone through lip repair, you kinda know what to expect, you know what I mean? And you kind of
Yeah.
yeah, so they said that it's easier. So
And it's gonna be so easy.
oh god, okay.
I don't
So
know
we're
what to
gonna go through Summer and I, since Summer has been through it, we're gonna go through some Cleft Lip Repair essential question and answers. And so the first question is, did you have to wean him at all from the bottle, or did they tell you that he could have the bottle right away?
You can have the bottle right away, they said, so no weaning.
Okay. Oh, okay. What should I bring to the hospital? So what are some essential items that
Number 1, especially if there's warm milk. That's number 1. And then, obviously, if you're pumping, bring your pumps and bring your milk. Honestly, I know this sounds the biggest hassle, but if you are bringing your milk and somehow you could bring a mini fridge for your room, I know that sounds a lot, but I would highly recommend it because that was another big pain in the butt in the hospital. Because, oh, yeah, we could store your milk for you. Well, you know how nurses are. I'm calling to have my milk. I even tried to ask ahead of time before I knew he would want milk. It took them a good 30 minutes to an hour just to bring my milk. That's literally across the hall from my room. And there's 1,000 nurses at the desk that just apparently can't do it. It just has to be the one. So it took a good 30 minutes to an hour, and then I have to wait another 30 minutes for the damn bottle warmer to warm up. So I highly recommend a mini fridge only because it is a pain in the butt having to ask a nurse for milk. And especially with the baby with recovery, it's not like your normal regimen. Oh, they usually have a bottle at 1 and 5. And etc. It's, oh, he's up. He seems to finally be hungry. I need milk right away. But then you're waiting for God knows how long. So other than the mini fridge, I know that sounds a lot, but you don't have to. Just a recommendation. But obviously, clothes for you and your husband, pillows, blankets, pretty much what you pack for labor and delivery. I feel, at least when it comes to us. For our babies, they pretty much had everything. I did bring PJs and at least bottoms, but he pretty much was in his little hospital gown the whole time until it was time to leave. So we obviously did at least have a little outfit to take him home in. Then obviously bottles, gotta bring your bottles
Yeah, I
for
brought
those.
I brought her PJs so that she had something from home, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they really do, they provide, I mean, depending on the hospital that you're at, they provide everything for them, but I think just having a blanket that's theirs or their pajamas can help them
Yeah.
feel a little bit more comfortable.
I will say I did bring that. I don't know if it was just because of his age. He was so young at 4. He didn't recognize, I feel. Now going into palate repair, I'm definitely gonna bring favorite little stuffed animal and his blankie because before he didn't really, I don't know, gravitate towards any of that. I guess it depends on
Mhm.
the child too and the age.
Yeah, he didn't have anything that's you feel he was attached to or could recognize.
And
That
then mommy and daddy, that was about it for him, I feel at that
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah. I forget. Yeah, so just in asking about that as well, what age he was 4 months when he had repair?
Yeah, he was going on 5, so he's like 4.5.
Gotcha. Okay. And then do you know what the range is? Is it 2 to 4 months, right? For
Like,
repair?
every doctor is different, but ours was around 5 to 6 months they recommended, but since it was so close to his 5-month mark was pretty much Thanksgiving, so they pushed it a little for us, thankfully.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Just a few other essential items that we have listed as well that people have mentioned. We talked about the favorite blanket. You could also bring songs or shows. I know just how you still fall asleep to this little lullaby every single night. So I tried
Mhm.
to bring stuff like that.
A sound machine. I
Oh
do
yes,
recommend that. Yes.
yeah, a sound machine. Giselle sleeps with a sound machine as well. We talked about familiar pajamas. And then so I have a girl, so I brought her hair ties because her hair is everywhere. So just to keep it out of her face and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course the hair tie for yourself, right? And then parents have mentioned dark clothing, snacks, personal hygiene items, comfort blankets, and yeah, you're essentially there to make them comfortable, and so you wanna make sure that you're also comfortable because they're super reliant on you during that time, so those are all things that you want to look out for. Another question we have is, did you have to well, everyone has to worry about this, but I was gonna mention, how did you avoid getting baby sick? What am I saying? How did you not get him sick?
Avoid getting our baby was a bubble boy for a good week prior. We did not go anywhere, and nobody was really allowed in. I will say another reason why we were in the hospital longer, which I think did not help his recovery, is that he actually did get sick in the hospital.
Oh, he
So,
did.
mhm. Right after surgery, he started, yeah, he had like a little cold, nothing crazy, but obviously did not help him in any way.
Mm.
I don't know how I would forget mentioning that. The world one.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. Okay, so I think thinking about, just how anyone would not or would encourage not getting sick, right? Be bubble boy.
Yeah.
Focus on
Bubble boy. Wash your hands.
wash your hands. It's so weird we have to say stuff like this, but wash
Hey,
your hands, use, disinfectant, limit your exposure to sick people, avoid crowds or child play areas. Another thing that people can try, which we used, I think you can use it about 5 to 6 months, is vitamin C or elderberry. But of course, you will talk to your provider about if you're able to offer those things. If your child is in daycare, if I'm being honest, I would keep them from daycare for the week.
Yeah. You'd be on the safe side 2 weeks.
And I would also, if you have another child that is out in the world, when they come in, change their clothes, remove their clothes, put them away. Of course, cover your mouth when you're coughing. That type of thing is really helpful. Now, sickness is unavoidable. The one thing that I will say from my own personal experience is that if your child is sick, although surgery cancellations are heartbreaking, and I understand, I cannot stress enough, do not allow them to put your child under anesthesia if your child is sick. Please. You will go into a
At risk.
surgery and it will not be the experience that you are expecting. Please, if they have a cough, do not allow them, or don't push, or just make sure that you're honest with the anesthesiologist when they come to see you, and talk to the anesthesiologist before they put your child under. That is someone that people don't realize that is a part of your team. You need to see them, talk to them, say, "Hey, we good?" Make eye contact with them. You
Yeah.
know?
Be as honest as possible.
Yes. So, okay. We talked about how long surgery is. I know palate repair surgery is 2 hours. You said it can be anywhere from 2 to 4, with lip repair averaging what, like 2.5, 3 hours.
Exactly.
A question that a lot of parents ask is, can I stay with my child during the surgery? Usually the answer is no, you cannot go into the operating room with them, but I think I asked. I literally think I asked, but I would not be able to stand that, so I don't even know why I asked. I was
I know,
deluded.
my husband, he wanted to go in, he said, "I wanna see that." "I don't." No, I mm-mm, I don't know what that would do to me.
Yeah, I don't know why I asked, but because I wouldn't have been able to handle it. But no, you can't go in. Now, and a lot of people ask about ear tubes. Were ear tubes placed during lip repair for you, or are they waiting for palate repair?
Yes, they were placed.
Oh,
I know
wow.
they said we could wait till palate, but he kept getting ear infections. I don't know, why would we just hold it off and let's put him in now? So, yeah, they did that, took 5 minutes for them to do that right before they started on his lip.
Yeah. So that's good to know, because if your child is experiencing ear infections, you can request that, or at least ask if they'll be willing to put them in during lip repair. And then the ear tubes are placed to help with the drainage and to prevent fluid buildup. So the next question is, how long is the hospital stay? So he intended to only be there for one night, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's usually a minimum of 1 night, and then if there's any complications or issues, then they'll obviously add an extra day or 2, which we had to stay 2, but the normal is 1.
One night. Okay. And then the next question is, how can we make ourselves comfortable during our hospital stay?
Bring your comfy clothes. Bring your comfy clothes. I There's not really any downtime, at least there wasn't downtime for me. The only downtime I had was cuddling him when he was asleep. Obviously, you can bring games, iPad, anything to watch TV if you would. I'm not sure if you would actually use it.
Yeah. Okay. And I don't know if you've seen this recommendation, but people request an adult bed instead of a crib. Have you seen that?
I did see that, and I did ask about it, and they said no, but maybe only because he was 4 months. But I've been debating about asking again for his palate repair.
Hmm.
Which I don't know if they would allow it because he is a baby, but I see some moms are able to get the bed, so I'm not sure. Because they even said they're like, "You can't sleep in the crib with them," and I'm like, "Okay."
When you'll let me sleep in the chair with him?
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't make
Like, I
any
don't think
sense.
either of us is getting a lot of sleep here.
Yeah. So it doesn't
Anyway.
matter either. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think always because I'm laughing, but I thought that that would be the response as well. Well, they're gonna say, like, you can't sleep with the baby in the bed, right? Because they don't wanna be liable for it. But I think someone mentioned that they signed some type of waiver to have it happen. But if you can, I've heard it's way more comfortable. So that way well, actually, you know what? This is what they did. I forgot about this. They're not in the bed with the baby. It's if you and your husband sleeps while you're up with them, and then that way you can alternate and you're not both uncomfortable in recliners trying to during your shifts. He's
So you
sleeping.
can request an actual bed with the crib bed.
No, usually they're
Oh,
in the
you mean like
recliner
okay.
with you anyway, you know what I mean? So your husband can
Yeah.
sleep for 2 hours or however long, and then you switch. That way you can both actually get some sleep rather than, you're both just really
Yeah.
tired. That's what it was. Okay. So the baby's not gonna sleep in the bed with you, people. The bed right? The bed is for
Yeah.
for your partner or the person that is essentially off, right? Off the clock. And that should be helpful or make your stay a little bit comfortable. Of course, hospitals fight back as they tend to do, but it doesn't hurt to ask, to what you can do to make yourself feel more comfortable. All right. The next question that we have is what can I use to keep my baby's hands away from their mouth?
I know a lot of people do cozy coos, and that a lot of times hospitals do have restraints. Now, our doctor actually recommended nothing. They said it seems to do more damage, not damage, but they get more irritated knowing that their arms are constrained. Then obviously if they're gonna touch their face, they're gonna know it hurts, so they're not gonna do it. I was a little nervous about that. I did have a friend who has a cleft baby too. It's funny. Her child looks exactly like Arrow's, and that's how we connected. But they had their surgery. The baby's 2 months older than him, so she sent him their cozy coo that he used. I had that as a backup just in case. But he actually seemed to do okay not having to use it. He did touch his face a little bit, but he didn't seem to do any damage or hurt him in any way.
Yeah, I was able to. So I was really nervous about this as well because Giselle sucks her thumb. And so that was her go-to to do that. But she
Mhm.
actually wanted nothing. She wanted nothing in her mouth. She didn't want me to touch it. She didn't touch it herself. But I figured after a few days she would get more comfortable and then she would accidentally do it. But it's true, she was so much more frustrated with the restraints on than off. She was more comfortable with them off. And so I just decided to take them off of her, and I just watched her closely. And then, of course, if she was out of my sight, let's say we were traveling, she was in her car seat and stuff, I would put the restraints on. Or if she was sleeping, then I would put them back on because, obviously she'd be in the back seat and I couldn't really have a good eye on her. Or when she was sleeping, or I even put one on her, the one with her thumb, the thumb that she sucks. And so, because it becomes a habit. You forget once she started feeling a little bit better, she forgets and just, like, kinda stick her thumb in her mouth. But that is what worked for us. Of course, consult your doctor on the decision that you wanna make about, the no-nos or if you choose to do the cozy coo. We talked a little bit about this earlier, but maybe you can share just a little bit more. How can I encourage my baby to feed after repair? So what worked for you is your husband bouncing?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, bouncing. I I guess do what you've done at the beginning, like, whatever soothes him the most. Like, before he did, like, to be up and held and bounced and fed. We tried everything. And in the hospital, obviously the syringes, but I also, when he allowed the bottle in his mouth, when I let my husband or my mother hold him, and I would grab the bottle and I would actually push the nipple and squirt milk in. And he actually did really well with that at first when he was drugged. He was
Mhm.
all drugged up. He did really well with that. So I highly recommend that. And then obviously then syringes and then trying to bounce and do whatever you have to do to get them to feed again.
Yeah. I think also getting them I think, just distracting them, and then also you kinda have to sneak it, because once they see you coming, they start to fight it. But yeah, that's a great way as well. So, okay, what did you do to manage, their pain post-repair?
We cycled through Tylenol and ibuprofen every 3 hours, I would say, for the first 5 days, including the hospital. And then we kind of slowly inched it out. So every 4 to every 6 to every 8. And I think we went to about day 10 is when we did once a day. And then I went to day 14. I officially stopped.
Mm.
I definitely recommend staying on top of your meds because they might seem like you're doing fine. And then if you push it out too soon, then it's just a cycle of pain for them, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, how much time did you take off of work? What should people do to what can they expect? When can they expect to return to work?
I'd say a minimum of 1 week. Um, but I would recommend 2, honestly.
Mhm.
Especially if you have to now if you're working from home and you have the flexibility, then I would probably do 1, but if you have to go back in the office, I would suggest 2.
Yeah, I agree. I took a week off. I took a week off and I work from home, but I could have also taken a few extra days. So, yeah. What are signs of complications? What should I look out for?
Obviously, they need to have wet diapers, need to be eating. Obviously, any unusual signs of that you're not used to your child doing, like, acts of pain or anything like that. But I feel like the biggest 2 is eating and dehydration.
Yeah, for sure. I think, of course, as well, fever, look out for that type of thing. I know
Yes.
people write in the groups too. They're a few days post-op and they're like, "Is this normal?" They're taking a picture of, the scabs and stuff like that. I think for those, you should, consult with your doctor as well, unless it looks infected or that type of thing. But what do they say to do to treat the area?
So, there's supposed to be a bandage over the lip and the nose, but over the lip, especially at least until your post-op appointment. And then they're supposed to replace it, clean it, then replace it. And then after that, you could add like, a mixture of peroxide and water to kind of clean around. Now, him, since he loves to just touch his mouth, thankfully it didn't seem to bother him, but he ended up taking his tape off. Well, we had to run to the hospital to get more tape. That didn't stay on very long. It's supposed to stay on for 3 to 6 weeks, and ours only stayed on for 2. So
Mm.
every child's different. It's so hard to say. Thankfully, it didn't seem to make or break his recovery, tape or not.
Gotcha. And it's peroxide and water that you kind of try to clean it with, or did they give you some technique or something?
Yes. Yeah, just clean it with a little Q-tip because it's not good to have a bunch of dry blood for days because obviously it's gonna be harder to get off. And then we also saline sprayed his nostrils too to kinda help clear the airways from the blood and everything.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of that as well. People are like, "Oh, they're congested. What can I do to help them during that time?" And the recommendation I always give, because I don't know, you don't want to injure the area yourself, but saline, maybe like humidifier, that type of
Yeah.
thing might help.
Humidifier, yeah, the little sucky. I know we did the air suction in the hospital. We had saline spray both his nostrils really good, and then they had, like, this air suction that kinda helped clear it.
Yeah, for sure. And then about like, are you all doing the massage yet? I know that's a big part of healing. Is that when do you start those and what do you use for it?
So, basically, they say once the tape's off, but, the normal when the tape's off, like 4 to 6 weeks, they give you a list of gels and creams you could use, like Garway, or you use vitamin E. We bought this fancy dance one bio cream. I know that the support group recommended. So we've been using that and vitamin E. So I do vitamin E in the morning and then the scar cream at night.
Mm.
And the doctor didn't make it sound like we had a highfalutin, massage. It was just a few little pat downs until he pretty much gets irritated by us. So we do it about twice a day. He seems to get used to it
Yeah.
the best we can.
Yeah, that's good. I feel like I've seen someone sing a song. They will sing a little song, and then when the song is done, so then
That's smart.
this
Too.
is I feel like I saw Alexis do this. Alexis Garcia, she's been on the podcast a couple of times as well. But I see, so now her daughter is 2, so her daughter does it herself.
It's weird.
She'll
That's
sing the
awesome.
song, yeah, and just, do the little
I'm gonna steal that idea.
step.
I gotta make
Yeah.
a song.
So I think we talked about mostly everything. The last thing that I want to ask is how can I prepare myself emotionally for surgery and recovery? What are some things now that you've been through it that you would recommend or that you did do to prepare yourself?
Oh, that's a great question. Obviously, just hearing everyone's stories, obviously preparing yourself for the worst, but also preparing for the best because we're staying positive. Honestly, just staying positive is the best way. It's kind of hard to really prepare yourself unless you've been through it. And especially when you hear everyone's stories, every baby's different, every story's different. So you're not sure how bad or how good it's of an experience it's going to be for you. But just take one day at a time and try to be strong. I know my motherly instincts had to be kicking in because I'm not sure how I stayed as strong as I did through that whole process and not even crying and bawling my eyes out until at least a few weeks prior when it hit me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, you made it through.
yeah, made it through. Almost one more to go.
So when is his next surgery?
The next one is February 4th.
Oh, okay,
So
so it's
in
coming
1 month.
up.
Yeah.
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 Well, that's good. I mean, you're I mean, although I don't know how you to handle things, right? But I feel like I come from the approach of let's just get it all done and get it behind us, you know? And for it's not back to back, but it kind of feels, hey, you're doing everything now, right?
Yeah. It's still pretty fresh, the last one. So
Yeah, and so, of course, this podcast has tons of resources. We have all types of stuff online that are resources, and of course, we have our own group as well. So, and I'm always here to support you, Summer.
you are.
I
You
don't
were.
want.
You messaged me that day, the first day of surgery. You messaged me. That was really nice.
Oh, yeah. No, I try to, when people ask questions and stuff in the groups, I'm not, I don't want to be the know-it-all, right? Like I could probably answer this question, but I don't want to be, oh, here's Laura again. Sometimes I just like, let other people give their personal opinions and stuff because I'm no expert in anyone's story, but I do also just want to be there for people. I think it's a really hard time, just as a parent and going through all of that is really challenging. And so I just try to do what I can for people. And people can tell me to back off if you know if they feel inclined. So, thank you so much again, Summer, for joining me and for sharing all the tips and tricks that you have. And also, just best of luck to you and Arrows. Of course, we'll stay in touch and just, you have to come back for palate repair too. So,
Okay. We will. Give me a month or two after. It should be good to talk.
we'll have you on again. But I mean, I think you're gonna do wonderful. And so don't give you're already doing wonderful. So don't give yourself such a hard time. And if anybody wants to follow Summer, she lives a fabulous life, so please. For real. Oh my gosh, she goes to all the places and has such nice food and it's all fancy, and she takes Arrows everywhere. I'm jealous. I wanna be in that baby carrier. I'm like, "Take me." No, but thank you so much, Summer. And thank you all for listening to the Our Forever Smiles, Guff Mom Diaries, and Support podcast. Be sure to subscribe and submit a review of the podcast wherever you listen. Hope that you've enjoyed this audio experience. Maybe you cried a little, laughed a little, but more importantly, I hope that you feel a little piece of reassurance and even joy in your journey. Talk to you next week. Hold